Let's get started, shall we? Can we have another round of applause for Rhyannon Hanbury-Aggs, please?
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Director of You Already Know. What a film. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to start with the big, expansive query, which is, when did you first visit New Orleans? What is your relationship with this city?
I first went, I think, about 10 years ago, and it was in a kind of life and death moment of feeling like I needed to go and do something that felt really valuable to myself. So I got some credit cards, and I got some camera equipment, which is not the advisable way to make a film, by the way. I kind of landed in the city and just one by one connected with all the artists to tell this story. So my relationship was, I came to the city with like a very strong intention to tell a story that felt really meaningful to myself.
And what was your knowledge of bounce before you arrived?
Well, someone told me about bounce in the pub, and I was like, what?
So you were in a pub, and that conversation resulted in this movie.
Yes. So I was in a pub, actually, on a work break in London Bridge, and a friend, I was saying, I'm just looking for something that's new and a different beat, and I've been a techno DJ for years by that point, so I wanted something that shook me up a bit. And then he said, well, you should try bounce because it's got a bunch of these transgender rappers at the moment leading it. And he played me this beat, and I was like, what is that? And it did something different to my body, and it kind of spun me out because it was too fast to really recognize what your body's supposed to do with it. And yeah, it just kind of went from there. I was like, I'm going to find the club where this artist performs and dig.
So where did you begin? How did you end up meeting everyone you needed to meet? Because the contributors you have in this film, what is it, like 4 dozen?
Yeah. So I turned into a massive geek. And basically, before I went, I had a white wall behind me in my bedroom, and I painted a big map of America and New Orleans, and I started researching all the record labels and anything I could find on the artists, but actually I couldn't find very much.
Yeah, the internet isn't giving with bounce, is it?
Yeah. I mean, now there's more stuff, but when I started, it was just like, you knew Big Frida did something, and apart from that, you couldn't really find anything. I found the name of the biggest club, and I went down to the club when she was performing, and just started filming there. And as I was running around, I was filming, and there was another filmmaker also doing a similar thing from New Orleans. And I explained what I wanted to do, and he kind of looked at me, and I said, I really want to go to the real hood side of this. I want to go into the projects. I want to do all this.
The wards,
Yeah, to the wards. And he's like, yeah, but you're going to get yourself killed. Come with me. We'll do it together. So that's Brad. And so me and Brad formed a team. And from there, it just kept growing and growing. But it took, 2.5 years to get Big Frida to talk. Because,
really?
It takes a while to get them to warm up to you, because there's a lot of people from outside that come, and there's culture vultures or people that want to kind of pick up the culture, take what they like from it, make the story of what they wanted from it, and go. So I think my intention was always that I wanted to tell a story that was told from the inside. And so when I approached them, I was like, I want this to be in your voice. So I spent about 5 or 6 years collecting a lot of anecdotes from all these artists, about 25, 30 of these artists. And then, again, in a massive geek fest for myself, like putting together this history that hadn't been written. Because you hear about funk and you hear about jazz and you hear about all the history that's been written for these things, but it just hadn't been written for bounce. So, I started compiling it. And then I found the leaders of the scene, and I approached them and I said, I want you to narrate it, and I want you to be happy with it, because there's a lot of different versions of events that can, make a story.
Let me ask you how the New Orleans residents have reacted to seeing this movie. I imagine there must be big blowout moments of, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I was really so nervous about showing them that I almost didn't finish the film, because I knew how impossible it is to succeed for everybody to tell the story, because everyone's got a different version of events. So I knew that even if I was giving someone 90%, I'm still betraying 10% of them because they've been telling me something I've had to cut. So I was really nervous about it, and I ended up doing it because I was just like, just put it out there, and it's better than not putting it out there. And then I got an amazing response. And like Chopper, who was one of the guys in it, he said, he was just like spot on. Lots of people said, I can't believe you understand the city like this, not being from the city. So that really meant a lot, because I was mainly making it for people in the city, but I also wanted to make it accessible for the outside. So,
So who would like to have a go at asking a question? Be brave. See, there we go. Big hand up. This is going to be a belter.
So I think, like, seeing this final edit, I mean, what really stands out is just the intimacy of it. And I feel like, I mean, knowing, making films myself too, I feel like what's really difficult is gaining that trust. And, like, that's what makes the difference between a film that has that kind of power, is that intimacy and that connection. And when you're going into a scene like that, I mean, true, as a white person especially, I think, I'm just curious, like, what was the journey of that? I mean, it must have been pretty scary at first, but, like, was there a point in which you were like, I'm not going to be able to, like, really penetrate this or get access? Or did that come earlier? What was your kind of journey that you went through as a filmmaker, making that connection and getting...
that's a really good question, because, it took 2.5 years to get the first interview that I wanted with Big Frida. And once I had that, I had a little nugget that I could start getting other interviews with. But I think actions speak louder than words, and I was there on my own at the time, and often I'd drive into the projects, or I'd go into the projects, and I think, and just try and speak with true intent. And really label my intentions of what the film would be and the tone would be. And I think people just react well to that. And also just showing your face continually. Like, the first visit, I didn't get much attention. The second, not much. But if you keep coming back, they're like, okay, you're serious.
Yeah, you mean
about
business.
This now.
Yeah, you're not just renting an Airbnb and then
Yeah.
flying away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's being present, and also you're not coming at it from like, oh, I want to sell this to this person, or it's going to Netflix or whatever. It's like, this is my baby, my project.
Yeah, well, that's it, because it's only, as I say, it's a collaboration. So it's only, it's got to be their film, first of all. And the intention was always, as it is now, if this does sell, all profits go directly back to the city, and it goes back into, the kids' musical funds that they have set up there. And so, that, I suppose, also helped.
Doesn't get more pure and honest than that. I've got a curiosity question before we move on to some more from the crowd here. But I was wondering how hard it was to source the music videos that we see. I love how they were framed within that boombox TV a lot of the times. I get the impression you were at the bottom of the YouTube barrel going,
oh, yeah.
Is there anything? Does someone has a VHS that hasn't been near a magnet? Can you help me here? Like, what was the toughest footage to find?
The toughest footage was that Life After Katrina stuff, actually.
I bet.
Because I couldn't find any filmmaker who had footage from before the storm or after the storm directly, because it had all been ruined, or it just wasn't on people's minds to do it at that time. And then I came across his by just searching on the internet. And so, and then I went round to his house and we had a chat, and I told him how much I respected his film and that I would like to interview him and have him as a featured artist, and also would he like to exhibit his work within it, and then we can help spread the word. That kind of thing.
This is proper old school journalism. This is knocking on doors and making friends.
It was a lot of knocking on doors.
Wow, your phone book must be huge. Who's next? I think we had a gentleman here.
I just wanted to ask a question about the kind of queer rappers and musicians in the film. And particularly, could you speak more on how they managed to find themselves getting that kind of respect and acclaim in the community? And was that there, or was it kind of divided between kind of more straight and queer places, or was it a kind of everyone was involved and respectful of those?
Yeah, I think it's there's two messages, and I couldn't box them because I had the same question. I was like, are people pro or anti it? But in New Orleans, you had a lot of, in the vaudeville district and in the 1950s and onwards, you had these wonderful drag artists who were really respected within the community and big performers. You know, it's a musical performance city. So it's always been part of the culture. Also, you get a lot of guys in the church who are gay, who are like part of the choir. So that's an interesting question as well, because I spoke to a pastor, I always say that wrong, about it, and he says, you know, God accepts everybody. So in the church, they're saying God accepts everybody, but that's person to person very different. And when you go into people's views out there, people are like, I would not want my son to be gay, actually. I'm fine if I'm in a club with a guy, but I don't want my son. So I think it's not always clean cut, but a lot of the great artists are gay. And that's been around for time. And I think the city's always kind of at least 10 years ahead of us. And at the moment, it's at a stage where maybe things aren't so categorized. You know, Vokaredu, who's up there, I don't know if he's gay or if he's straight. Like, he's just something wonderful.
He's him.
He's just him, yeah, which is how it should be. But I think in our society, we're still at the point of categorizing a lot.
Guys, let's put our hands together just one more time.
Oh, thank
for
you.
Rhi, and for You Already Know. A real pleasure to chat about this film. Tell your friends, tell everybody, and again.
Yeah. Oh, and follow Polo Nola Photography on Instagram, because he's the guy who did a lot of the photos back then, and he is the real deal New Orleans photographer, and you can see everything about the life, like, which is going on day to day through him. Polo Nola Photography.
Say that 5 times fast. Thank you again, guys.
Thanks.
Lots of love.